Hey, Random House. It's Kelly. I'm so bright on here. I don't know how to fix that. Hi. I am a minute or two early. I just wanted to say hello. Thanks for coming. I'm here to entertain you and give you some food for thought. We have about 15 minutes together, and I have a big plan. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Kelly Corrigan, and typically I write books. I wrote this book a long time ago about my dad. I wrote this book after, which was about my mom, basically. I wrote a third book, which I don't have a copy of, called Lift. And then the most recent book I had written is this one. And that's what we're going to talk about today, which is some sort of food for thought to hold on to during hard times. So I also do some stuff for the Today Show now and then. I do some stuff for PBS NewsHour, which I've really been loving and I hope to do more of. And I write for O Magazine, and I've written for the New York Times. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. I live in Northern California. I have an 18-year-old and a girl who's turning 17 this month. I'm having my 20th wedding anniversary also this month. And I found my wedding dress, and I'm going to put it on, and Edward's going to put on his tuxedo, and we're going to renew our vows in front of our kids during shelter in place. So it's going to be SIP 20th anniversary, because why not? Okay, so I have a whole plan for today, and I want to show it to you. So hold on a second. I'm going to flip it around. So we're going to do 5 things. 1, we're going to talk about this chapter in Tell Me More. There's the book called I Don't Know, which is hyper relevant to right now. Then we're going to talk about the chapter called Tell Me More, which I'm going to do a short reading on page 41. Then I'm going to do a longer reading. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes of This Is It, which I think is a nice reminder that at some level, being alone with our families with more time than we could imagine is definitely a dream if there weren't the overhang of an economy in collapse and the danger of coronavirus. 4, I'm going to invite you to something called BYOB. And then, if you make it all the way, I'm going to tell you the one joke I know. And I think it's a great joke, and I have a feeling that you're going to be able to use it over the course of the weekend. All right, so that's my plan for the next 15, 20 minutes, okay? Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Am I so, bright here? Sorry about that. Okay, so Tell Me More is a book that's fundamentally about things that adults are required to say and feel and understand in order to have functioning, long-term, loving relationships, which in my opinion is the point of life. And I'm guessing you probably agree because you're book people. So if you agree, send me a little heart that it's all about our relationships. In order to maintain relationships, there are very difficult sentences that need to be said here and there. And the whole book project of Tell Me More came about because my husband and I were having this hearty debate over whether it's better to say I'm sorry or to say I was wrong. And it's his strong opinion that I'm sorry is sufficient, and it was my strong opinion that I was wrong has a level of humility baked into it that is super powerful in terms of untying knots between people. And that debate about I'm sorry versus I was wrong got us going about what other things do grown-ups really have to be able to say. And one of the things that I included in the book was that we must be able to say, I don't know. And this is so personal to me because I am sort of a conviction addict. I'm really into the sound of certainty, both coming in my ear and coming out of my mouth. I really am drawn to the person of full-throated conviction. And that I've come to feel is sort of an immature point of view or an unsophisticated point of view because most things are much more complicated than the person of full-throated conviction would have you believe. Like people don't really often, way before coronavirus, didn't quite know how to do many, many things. And now, of course, we're in this incredible period of humility where we are seeing how vulnerable we are to things that we don't understand. And then we may have people in our own homes who are kind of looking to us as the chief morale officers to have answers. Like, when am I going to go back to school in the fall? That's what my daughter really wants to know. She's a freshman at Georgetown, and she was loving it and having the time of her life. And then she got like everybody else. And my other daughter wants to know how college admissions are going to work next year because she'll be a senior. And I'm sure that everybody in your house has very specific questions about their own life and how that links into the global situation. So I just want to say I'm full of empathy for all of us who are in this terrible place where we're having to accept the vast and sustained uncertainty across the board and all of the ways that it's impacting us as well as others. So in Tell Me More, I thought I would share this very brief passage, which is goes to the point of the things that people defer to. Like, you may defer, if you have a particularly excellent boss or board member or collaborative partner, you may feel comfortable deferring to them. People may defer to a spouse, rarely, not in this house. But of course, people defer to religious leaders, and they also, I live in the Bay Area, so we defer to like Tai Chi and ancient wisdoms and Buddhism and that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to acknowledge that in the I Don't Know chapter. So this is how it reads. At this moment, it's a decent bet that my mom is praying for me and my brothers, who she hopes will inherit her bulletproof faith, but are more likely to drive away with her Navy Buick and a leftover case of Chardonnay she bought at a discount over the state line in Delaware. I'm telling you, Kelly, she has said to me a couple hundred times, prayer is powerful. You should try it. The closest I come to prayer is to give a nod of thanks for a just right avocado or an ache that's resolved or a 5-star public school teacher like Gina McEwen. At night, after I get in bed and pull my covers around me, I sometimes think, thank you for this good man beside me and those girls in the other room. I have no specific ideas about who you is. In cafes around Berkeley and Oakland, community bulletin boards scream with beliefs. Tantra, Chinese, beading meditation. There are ads for weekend seminars where you can make your passion canvas, your soul collage, your purpose manifesto. I once saw a stack of glossy cards promoting the International Clitoris Festival. Praise be to that. When I go home to Philly, I see gold crosses around the necks of my high school friends and drive past sandwich boards telling me to sign my kids up for Bible camp. I want to dismiss it as so much yearning, but really, who am I to say? What if there is something between and around and inside all 7 billion of us? As Voltaire said, doubt is not a pleasant condition, but certainty is absurd. So those are my thoughts on I Don't Know, and I'm sure you're having to say it all the time, right? The second beat of our session together is Tell Me More. So Tell Me More is this super basic idea that I think probably everyone knows and has wrestled with, but you just cannot be reminded of it enough, which is that you're often a fool to think that after a very little bit of information, you are ready to buzz in with an answer for someone else. So say your kid comes to you upset, or your husband had a bad day at work, or your someone you work with is complaining about something. You could decide that from 2 or 3 sentences, you pretty much know what the problem is and you pretty much know how to solve it. And I think you're pretty much wrong pretty much all the time if that's your pacing. I think that the only real way to be a friend or a parent or a partner or a colleague to somebody is to say, tell me more. What else? Go on. And which is a sort of very productive way to recognize that there's a thing behind the thing behind the thing, and that's what's bothering someone. Is it's a couple layers deeper than whatever the presenting headline is, and that you just be so wise to pause, put the pause on yourself and let them get more out. Like, let them clean out their whole emotional garage before you dive in there with a solution. And so I think in this moment where we're all sheltering in place with our families, it's not a bad time to really lay on the tell me more with your family. Because you would say, I've caught myself saying, honestly, like, maybe you should get outside. Why don't you get some exercise? Turn off that phone and have you read a book? And I don't know necessarily that that's helping them very much. I think it would be much more powerful to say to them, tell me more, like, what else? Go on. So that's my big tip on that. And I have a very short reading there too. One moment, please. That would be page 41 of Tell Me More. See, I wrote it down on my bulletin board. Oh, this is really interesting. Edward had this crazy experience. So this starts with me trying to help my daughter with a problem. Solving George's problem, which had seemed so generous, was both unlikely and ran the risk of demoralizing her. Empathy was the tonic. I'd learned something else. Her situation, which I had started to dismiss as the usual tween mumbo-jumbo, was interesting and relatable. I mean, I didn't care about Piper and Jackie and whatever happened at Christmas with Emma, but feeling unsupported, the sting of injustice, the search for home, for safety, that I understood. Edward and I once had this great conversation. I was telling him how when I sit in front of the cab, which I do sometimes if the road is windy and I'm at risk for car sickness, I often end up hearing crazy or great stuff. Like on a 45-minute ride from Big Sky to Bozeman Airport, I talked to a driver named Matt. He was a park ranger by day and made airport runs in the evenings for extra money to help finance his move to Thailand, where he was going at the end of the year to take over his in-laws' rubber plantation. Come January, Matt would be managing 9,000 rubber tree plants west of Bangkok. I asked him if he knew how to farm rubber. Oh, it's nothing. You hammer a tap into the trunk, tie a bucket underneath, and watch the money drip out. When I called Edward from my gate to tell him about my ride, he reminded me of a work dinner years ago when he'd sat next to a small older man in a blazer much too big for him. The night did not seem promising. Edward was bored. He had texted me from under the table, "This is brutal." Then someone mentioned Cambodia. Edward asked the man if he'd ever been to that part of the world. He had, the man said flatly. It was the first place he went after several years as a political prisoner in Madagascar. 32 months, one cell, rats everywhere. Edward snapped to. One question led to another, and Edward discovered that this man he was stuck with had been an undefeated boxing and judo champion, filed 40 patents, and was suing the Dallas Cowboys for using his retractable roof design without permission. George Clooney had optioned the rights to his life story. Makes you wonder what else people might tell you if you just keep asking questions. So I guess I'm just encouraging all of us to take advantage of all this time to have longer conversations with the people that we're stuck with and see if we can find new ground with each other and not assume that we know everything that's going on with them or how their year has been or what they want for themselves and how that's changing, et cetera, et cetera. Like at a minimum, we have to get the silver lining here because the cloud is enormous. Okay, next up is This Is It. So This Is It is this last chapter in Tell Me More. And it's short, but the idea is that we, I'll just get right to the heart of the reading, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. When I was young, I was super into like world travelers and adventure, and I thought that that was the only way to be cool. And then as I got older, I came to really admire people who were doing what I thought was kind of the coolest thing that you could do, which was make a real family, like a family with inside jokes and dance moves and favorite games and shared memories and a sense of like total security. And it is the fact that we might have a little more opportunity for that sort of thing at this moment. But cycling between the kitchen, the desk, and the carpool, it can be hard to revel in the domestic litter of moldy towels and muddy cleats, much less the cacophony of clashing siblings, or worse, the near silence of clicking thumbs on smartphones, Rihanna whining from a bedroom speaker left on. And what's the sound of eyes rolling, of marital friction, of the mind bending around itself, trying to decide when to step in, when to let them fail or fight or go to that kid's house you have a bad feeling about. It's a lonely business, and then sometimes strangely claustrophobic. But this is it. This is what I wanted and what my friend Liz was pulled away from at 46 against her every fiber. This abstract performance art called family life is our one run at the ultimate improv. Our chance to be great for someone, to give another person enough of what they need to be happy, ours to overlook or lose track of or bemoan, ours to recommit to apologize to try again for, ours to watch disappear into their next self, toddler to tyke, tween to teen, ours to drop off somewhere and miss forever. It's happening right now, whether we attend to it or not. Like after preparing a nutritious meal that no one really liked, and a lot of blame gaming over who forgot to take out the compost, your peevish, greasy young adult tramps off to take the shower she should have taken 2 days ago, and the evening is shot to shit, and not 1 minute of it looked like the thing you prayed for so long ago. But then you hear something. You head up the stairs and hover outside the bathroom door. All the single ladies, all the single ladies. The kid is singing in the shower. Your profoundly ordinary kid is singing in the shower, and you get to be here to hear it. All right, we're moving on to number 4, folks. That's BYOB. So BYOB is a little online talk that I give every Monday and every Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific on my Facebook page, which is Kelly Corrigan Author, and you're totally welcome to join us. It's super fun. And it's not unlike what we're doing right now, although it's a little bit more topical to the day's events. And now, for the 5th and final thing for today, we're going to the one joke I know. So it's this little first grade classroom in Paris, and the teacher has this very clever way of teaching English to the kids. And that is that she gives them a word at the end of each class, and then they go home and live their lives, and then they come back the next day and use the word in a sentence. So on Friday, the word is probably. So all the kids go home and all the kids come back, and on Monday they're raising their hand, and the teacher says, "Yes, Marie." And Marie says, "Well, I was driving down the Champs-Élysées with my father, and on the street light, it was red, and my father was very angry, and I said, 'Don't worry, Papa, probably it will turn green soon.'" And the teacher says, "Very good, Marie." And I go, and then, "Yes, Pierre." And Pierre says, "I was walking down the Champs-Élysées with my mother, and we passed a store, and from the door come the most beautiful smells, and I say to my mother, 'Probably it is a perfume store.'" And the teacher says, "Oh, very good, Pierre. That's perfect." And then little Antoinette says, oh. The teacher says, "Yes, Antoinette." And she says, "Well, I was walking home from the Champs-Élysées, and I came up my back stairs, and I look into the window, and I see my mother standing with my piano teacher. And my mother has her skirt way up over her head, and my piano teacher has his pants way down by his ankles. And I said to myself, probably they are going to shit on the piano." There you go. Happy Saturday, guys. See you at BYOB on Monday. Bye. Keep reading books. It's going to save us all.